In the last video about the HXU-1, I made suggestions as to how to do a basic physical setup of your new HXU-1 matrix over IP system. I also suggested that you write down your IP addresses and which transmitters and receivers were which. And I suggested that for the steps that we're going to take here in this video. When you set up your HXU-1s, they will each have their own web browser, their own page. Once you've connected a PC to the same network and set your IP as you should desire, I would suggest maintaining the auto setting that the HXU-1 comes out with. This pertains to your IP address. The IP address that comes defaulted for all of those HXUs, you'll have noticed when writing down, was a 169.254 scheme. So once you've set up a computer to be able to hop on that network, I've entered my T1, my first transmitter's IP address, which is 169.254.3.7. When you select that, it brings up the page that you see here before you. This is the built-in web browser for each and every one of the HXU-1 units. Both transmitters and receivers have these pages. In it you'll find a bunch of stuff. First, the tabs across the top. System gives you some version information and some other functions that you'll see here we'll talk about in a second. Network, which gives you the current IP address, the subnet mask, default gateway. You can here also select DHCP or static as your IP addresses. My best success has come here, but as some of you out there are network gurus, you may choose to change this, and by all means, feel free to do so. When you first open up your HXU-1, despite what the manual that comes in the box says, this will actually come defaulted to unicast, not to multicast, which means you need to come to this page, select multicast, and then click on the auto select USB operation per casting mode. This keeps USB tied to the inputs, which of course is how I'm doing this. My computer's nowhere near us right now. And then you'll have to apply it. Once you apply that, it'll come up with a warning at the top of the screen that says you must reboot for these changes to take effect, at which point go back to System. You'll find a slot called Utilities, and under Utilities is the reboot. Select that reboot. It takes 30 to 45 seconds, and it'll refresh the page. If you changed your IP address or scheme, you will have to go back and change your computer's IP address and scheme, etc., because it will select that. Under these utilities is also for a much more advanced, but this is where you can manually enter console APIs, as well as change the default of the source that's connected to a transmitter. Your unit will ship with updated firmware, so at this time you will not have to worry about this. The final tab on this is actually functions. Many of these functions will default to a different place than you see them checked right now. You do want video enabled over IP. You do want USB enabled over IP. Your operation mode should be auto, and your serial over IP should be selected as well. These change based on multicast versus unicast, so you do need to check on these. One thing that many of your programmers may ask you to look into is changing the baud rate. We've not done extensive testing with this, but it is absolutely permissible. You do have the ability to change the baud rate for your RS-232 control of the device and sending information over it. So that's the quick lesson on setting up the actual unit itself. Now, this was my transmitter number 1. You must do this for each transmitter and each receiver connected to your system. The purpose of doing that is then to allow you to come to the program which you've downloaded. These instructions you can follow from the disk that's included with your HXU-1 transmitters. Stream Control Panel is the PC operation of your system. It includes, and this I've talked about in an earlier video as well, your ability to select and control streams, stopping all streams should you need to, and access to them from a PC, inserting an announcement, which is an advanced option, and the current status of your streaming devices. You click on that to hit refresh, and I'm going to do this just before I load it. When you open this for the very first time, this will be completely and totally unpopulated. what you will find is the default page, at which time you click up here to System Settings. System Settings then has a bunch of options. You have the ability to select a host, client, group, password, and language. Language is the easiest to default. That's just the language in which this software is presented. You have a couple of choices. Hosts are your transmitters. Each transmitter you've written down the IP address for. Here, rather than following the instructions in my very own manual that I wrote, yes, I know, you'll find that Bonjour may only work once, and as you change things, it may set you back and take a little more time to do. At least that's what I found in my testing. So my recommendation is writing down all those IP addresses so that you can come back here with this field completely unpopulated as you open it up. Type in your first IP address, which is a 169.254. I'm going to use the unit that we just viewed the web browser page for. Using your mouse, come over here to query the MAC. You'll see immediately, since this is on the network, that it comes up as online, gives me the MAC address, and gives me the ability to first set a channel, name the actual device itself, put a little memo as to what that device really is, and then once you've added all of those, click Add, and it will populate the field down below, which you'll see I've already set as Channel 1, Transmitter 1, Memo is Source 1, so we'll know what they are. And there is your crash course in getting your network set up. You'll repeat that for each transmitter before you come to your receivers, which are referred to as clients in the group. Enter that same process of typing in your IP address written down on your sheet of paper. Select Query MAC. Online will pop up right away. Your MAC address, fill in the number and name fields to give it number 1, R1, the IP address, the MAC address, and the memo I selected was display 1. In future how-tos, we'll dive into groups and passwords. I hope you found this all informative and useful, and I look forward to sending you another new video soon. Good luck, guys.